Welcome to Future Focus Van Buren Tech, where we take you inside the world of career and technical education.
From the fast-paced world of fire science
to the strategies of business management.
to the innovation behind engineering design.
And the creativity of architectural design. We are four students at the Van Buren Tech Center diving deep into these career paths, sharing experiences and bringing you expert insights along the way. Whether you're a future student, a curious listener, or just love learning, this is the place for you. Be sure to catch all 4 episodes.
Let's build the future together.
All right. Welcome to the Future Focus Van Buren Tech Podcast. I am your host, V Saber. I'm here with Anime Watcher and Not Illegal. Our speaker for today is Gray.
What is business management and administration? The course is about business ethics and business laws, business structure. So what have I learned so far in this course? I have learned the business structure, how businesses run. I have learned a lot about how holidays affect all the business. And I have learned how to be properly in the business place. And another major thing that is part of business administration is DECA. DECA is a mandatory club when you join Business Management and Administration. And what it stands for is Distributive Educational Clubs of America. And basically what DECA does is we go to DECA Business. And in DECA Business, we do different courses. You take 100-question test on your own course. It could be marketing, law, ethics. There's tons of different ones. And then once you go to the place, either you have written a paper and you present the paper to them, or you have a practical role play where you have 10 minutes to prepare and then 10 minutes to speak in front of the person. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, that's very interesting. It sounds like you do a lot of public speaking in this course. So, how many presentations do you do on average?
At the beginning, there was a lot. It was almost every week. But after the beginning, it becomes less common. I'd say once or twice a month, but there is still a lot of presenting.
Okay, so another question. What do you do in yoga besides what the course is?
What we do in DECA is we get more prepared for the future and understanding our business. And in my exact one, I am planning and marketing. So I am understanding marketing better and getting farther. I even qualified to go to States.
What does an average day at the tech center look like for you?
The average day in the tech center it looks like for me is I get there a little bit before 2:30 and I get all my sites prepped for the day as I do a lot of classwork. Or we go on a field trip.
What kind of field trips or classwork do you usually do?
The classwork is mostly about how the market's going on right now, what's going on in the world, and things like that. Field trips, we've taken a lot, and it's to show more about how money circulation, so on and so forth goes.
So do you just sit at a desk all day and just like write papers, type papers, stuff like that?
Yes, it's mostly typing and research for the marketplace, but we do field trips. Like we took a field trip to Arcade to see how the business is run. If there are no more questions, I'm going to be continuing on. How does this course help you is something many people would be asking. And my answer is it gives you tons of skills. For just skills that you can learn, skills that you can improve on. It taught a lot of people leadership skills that you don't really learn in school. It really helps with communication skills, being up there for presenting, having to talk to people you're not comfortable with. Critical thinking is a huge thing because you got to think about how the market's working, what ins and outs there can be. There's even a whole current events presentation where you have to guess how things are going to go. Strategy planning, figuring out how to make everything work, how's the most likely chances a business would work, with some other things they could do to help them. Strategy planning is huge. And being able to handle a big workload is another thing with deadlines. That's what a lot of my class is about, is getting handed quite a few projects that you need to have done by a certain deadline, and you need to figure out how to handle that workload with the rest of your stuff. And another thing that's really getting to us is guest speakers. Guest speakers gives you this connection. You're able to meet with these people in leadership roles, management, business owners, and they tell you their life story, how they got there, what training they were required, their bads, their goods, and how their whole life went, how they would suggest for you to go about their career and everything else. It's been a huge thing, and we have their numbers and emails to be able to connect to them anytime we want. And job shadows have been another huge thing in this course. To be able to go to a job and see how it actually runs instead of just guessing it off the top of your head is huge. Being able to look at everyone walk around in the job. So, is there any questions?
Yes. So, what skills do you think are the most important that you get in the tech center?
I think one of the biggest skills, just because of how widespread it is communication, because communication will help you almost no matter the field.
So it kind of bounce off what not illegal said. What skills from this class will you be able to bring into the real world?
Um, Most of the skills I said will get brought into the real world. Leadership always help, communication, critical thinking, strategy, planning, and workload. It does matter the job, but in most times, just being able to handle a workload will help your stress, which is important in any situation.
Oh yeah, well that's a lot there, and I feel like that's very impressive to be doing even in high school. So Gray, tell me, what job shadows have you been on, and how have you learned from them?
One of the job shadows I went to, my first one, I went to a excavation site on a new golf course for Kalamazoo Country Club. And being able to see a bigger project, as I have always lived in a construction life, seeing this bigger project and all the different things and how the project manager works with everyone was kind of eye-opening, how things run on a bigger scale than just small house repairs and remodels and things like that. And my other one, I went to a different construction site and just seeing how the people talk to each other differently and how the ranks go about is just interesting to see. Is there any more questions? No? Then I'll continue on. Another question that you might be asking when you think about business management and administration is, where can it get you? Why is it a good field? Well, I'll tell you why. Managers are in really high demand, especially recently. There's been less and less managers. So their yearly salary, of course, depending on the job, is normally around 50,000 to 100,000 from my research that I found. So it's a really well-paying field. You get your worth out of it. And most things you're able to plan your own field. And then another thing that you might be thinking is, what jobs can I get with this? some of the most common pathways are financing and market research, human resources, event planner, or even real estate. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Was it worth to wrap up everything that you've talked about? Was it worth taking the class for you?
Yes, I believe it was. It really helped putting out those real world scenarios that you'll have to deal with and giving you very high level connections. I know one of the biggest business owners in Southwest Michigan now because it was one of my classmates' dads.
So do you think that with knowing what you do now with this, it'll take you a long way with what you want to do with your life?
I don't believe it would take me a long way, but I believe that it would take me, it's going to make it a little bit quicker for everything I do, especially the startup. How about you, not illegal?
Have you made any connections that will help you out in the future?
Um, I am not certain about this, but I have made maybe one that would be really helpful in the future. He is a remodeler, and of course, he hires out some jobs. So when I start my own construction company, like I'm planning, he could be a potential customer and recurring customer because he does house remodels.
All right. Yeah, so it's obvious that you've taken a lot of knowledge. You've learned a lot from this program, and you have a wide array of skills. So, what do you plan on doing with the skills that you've learned?
What I'm planning on doing with the skills I learned is ending up starting my own construction company. This summer, I'm planning on getting my general contractor's license, and I won't start my own company right then. I'll still sit back for a little bit, learn a little bit more throughout that year, and then maybe I'll start running my own company or take over after someone. That is
Nice.
how I'm planning on using the business. Research marketing, I've learned.
Awesome. Nice.
Any last questions before we wrap this podcast up?
None that I can think of.
I think that's all for me.
Nope, we're all good.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Future Focused Van Buren Tech podcast. A huge thank you to the Van Buren Tech Center for making this podcast possible. And of course, you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. This was part of our limited 4-episode series. So if you like this episode, be sure to check out the rest. Share it with your friends and help spread the word. Until next time, stay curious, stay motivated, and keep building your future.